Welcome everybody to Carolina Diggers. My name is Richard. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about my top 3 tips that I give out to people that are looking to get into the hobby of metal detecting. And with that being said, let's get the show on the road. Shall we?
Hey guys, we're back. Today we're going to give our top 3 tips for metal detecting, getting into the hobby, what to expect, just the basics, nothing to blow your skirt up or anything like that. But I do get a lot of people like from work and people that know me outside of work and Facebook and whatnot. They'll ask me, what all do I need to do to get into the hobby? Even have a few people say, can you show me how you go about doing metal detecting? I'm like, sure. I have several metal detectors that I bring with me just in case. But going back to tip number 1, the introduction. I like to tell people to make sure that they don't have an unrealistic expectation of the hobby. I don't want you to think if you find the right metal detector for yourself and you go out and research it and finally decide which one to buy and get out there and see what you can find, don't expect to find that pot of gold. This hobby is basically I'd like to say the thrill of the hunt, because you don't know what's in the ground and you don't always know what you're going to find. So for me, that kind of rush is very addictive. Going to all these different places and you just swing and you eventually hear either low tones or mid tones or high tones, and you dig and you might find something great. I mean, really, really great. But it's not going to be like overseas, like you see the guys in England where they're going through these old fields that were battlefields for centuries ago, and they're finding these hoards of Roman coins and hoards of gold where the lord of the area took his treasure and buried it, and then ended up the person that buried it probably got killed and they never found the treasure again, and that kind of stuff. That's kind of crazy. I mean, you do find that, but you have to be in an area to find that. But with that being said, a first tip that I can give you is make sure you don't go overboard in buying your first detector. I've seen a lot of people buying AT Pros. They watch the show Diggers. I forget. I think it came on the National Geographic Channel or Discovery Channel or one of those channels. I can't remember now. It's been a few years. A lot of people would go out and buy these digger specials, and they were AT Pros, and they were loaded down with headphones and the Garrett digging tools and pinpointers and whatnot. Everything you needed to get into the hobby. And what ended up happening was a lot of the people that got into it realized that, hey, all I'm finding are roofing nails and bottle caps and stuff like that. And you just got to take the good with the bad. You got to dig them all. I mean, if you just dig coins, that's pretty much all you're going to find. Coins. And then eventually you'll find quarters that are going to end up ringing like quarters, and they're going to be brass and stuff like that. But the first tip that I can give you would be don't go overboard when you first start into the hobby. Buy something second hand if you can't afford something in the the $200, $300 range. Just get out there and swing. Bounty hunters, you'll see a lot of them. They're subsidiary of Fisher Labs, I think, if I remember right, and they make a fairly decent detector. They do a good job for what they are. what you'll see is the analog, a lot of time the analog display. And that is a lot different when you get to digital displays and target IDs and notching and stuff like that. Different tones for different types of metals, whether it's ferrous or non-ferrous. But first tip: don't go overboard, because you don't know if you're gonna like it or not. All right, guys. Tips number 2. That would be picking out your equipment. I know when I first started, I did a lot of research. I'm going to go back a little bit on tip number 1. I did a lot of research on my detector. What I did was I went to a lot of the forums and I read what's a good detector for that time. And the two that really stood out was the Garrett Ace 250. It seemed like everybody had a 250, or the Fisher F2. And there was another one, which was the White's Coinmaster. And I really didn't hear much from White's. All I knew was it was made in America, and they were metal box metal detectors. There was no plastic on the housing for the electronics. But the Coinmaster was this burgundy plastic, just like the Fisher F2, but it wasn't burgundy, like the Fisher F2 and the Garrett Ace 250. They had a plastic housing. Did a lot of research. One thing that I noticed on the detectors was Garrett Ace 250s at the time were very comparable to the Fisher F2 and the White's Coinmaster. I think it was 3 or 5 that was out at the time. I really don't remember, but I didn't go with the Whites. I basically stayed with Garrett and Fisher. The deciding factor for me on the detectors was not the price point, because they were both basically the same price. It boiled down to the Garrett Ace 250 did not come with a target ID. Came with a little arrow that bounced around where the intentional target was, and it was words that said iron or silver, or had a symbol for a pull tab, or a symbol for a penny, or a symbol for a nickel. And that's neat and all, and that's kind of a little novelty, I guess, at the time. But the Fisher F2, it had a target ID, 99 digit segment, which I figured if I was going to get into the hobby, it seemed like all the other high end and mid end detectors, they had a target ID. And I thought, if I do this, I might want to go that route because it has a target ID. Another thing to look for is notching. Notching allows you to take out iron and aluminum targets and just let you hunt coins. Or if you just want to hunt it all, you just run it in all metal mode. It's basically up to you. But now going back to tip number 2 in equipment, when I first started, I bought a garden trowel from, I want to say, the dollar store, and it wasn't much. It did 2 or 3, maybe 4 digs, and the strength of my arms was bending the metal back, and I'd have to bend the metal, the little metal bar that attached to the trowel for the digging part. I'd have to bend it back straight and try not to warp it, and eventually it just wore itself out and snapped. Then later I went to, I think, Walmart or one of the other department stores, and I bought a Fisker, I think was the name of it, and it ran me about $8. And it was a little digging trowel, just like the other one, just a little longer and a little more sturdier. And I used it for a few years until I decided to get a shovel. I saw a lot of people using shovels, and I thought, that's kind of neat. I wonder why they use shovels. And the reason for that was you're not squatting down as much to get down there to start digging. So eventually upgraded to a kind of like a ground shark shovel. It's got serrated edges on it and everything. It ran me about $60. But mind you, that's been a few years after I started. A lot of this stuff, a lot of my equipment I got as I crept forward. As you can tell, dollar store, trowel, Walmart, a little better digger tool, and then eventually a shovel that ran me about $60, which I use today. It's done a great job, and that thing takes a licking and keeps on ticking. And the other thing you want to take a look at is maybe headphones or and pin pointer. You need a pin pointer. That's like you definitely don't want to do it old school and use your detector to wind over the hole to see if it's still in there. It's just so much easier just to point and shoot. Basically, you just wind that thing around until you find that thing popping off, and you dig, and ta-da, there it is. Headphones, I really don't. People will say Grey Ghost and all this other stuff. For me, if it covers my ears and I can hear, and it's got a little volume thing on it, I buy it. And to me, it doesn't matter if it's a dollar store brand or the Big Lot brand or wherever you get it, Amazon, eBay. As long as it does a good job, I'm cool with it. But pinpointers make a difference. One thing I do want to say, an upcoming video, or I should say videos that I'm getting ready to do, I'm going to start reviewing again a lot of pinpointers. There's a lot out there, a really lot. I'm going to get about 5 or 6 off of Amazon, these little Chinese knockoffs that look like the Garrett carrots and all that. And we're going to take them out with the carrot and see just how they do. So be on the lookout. Something we're going to do for that. So with that being said, just don't go overboard in your equipment. Just gradually get into it. If you like the hobby, upgrade. If you don't like the hobby, you haven't put a lot into it. So, I mean, that's the way to look at it.
All right. Tip number 3. What we're going to do is I'm basically going to tell you, like I said before in the other ones, don't get an unreal expectation of stuff you will find. I've found Civil War stuff. I've found clad. I've found harmonica reeds. You name it. Horse bridle pieces, axes, old hammers. It's just so much stuff out there. You're gonna see these old houses like my family. They'll laugh at me because we'll be going down the road and I will literally drive by houses going, man, I can feel the silver just calling me on over there at that house. And they'll just laugh and they'll go, sorry, we're not stopping. So yeah, you're gonna find silver. You're gonna find gold. The weird part is I don't find a lot of silver, and I don't know why. I see all these videos and stuff, and I see people that find silver. I just don't have the silver bug, I guess. Man, what I find is gold. I find gold rings. I find gold necklaces. You just name it. I find it gold little pendants. I don't know why. It's like a friend of mine I went out with one time. He was finding Mercury dimes and Roosevelt dimes, and I mean they were all silver. And I look at him and I shake my head and I'm like, Mike, I just don't find them. I was like, I know what the tones are. I know where they are on the Target ID. They just don't pop up. And I reached in my pocket and I said, what I find is this. And I pulled out a gold ring. It was a 10-karat gold ring. And he's like, man, I'll swap with you any day. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It just happens on these, when you go out and metal detect. But what I do have here, I'm going to show you a couple things real fast and what I've found over the years. And that way you get a little, I guess, a sample of what you could find.
I just want you to take a look at these. Some of these coins, they haven't been in the ground very long. Say like these two, and they still have their little silver-looking little shine to them. That's what you think coins are going to look like. They're going to look like they failed. They're going to look like they're still silver. And the weird part is, when you start digging and doing this for very long, they start looking like, I gotta find it. It's hard to find it. Sorry, guys. They start turning black and brown. I'm guessing the mineralization in the dirt just leaches that shine right out and turns them a whole different color. But they start looking like giant pennies. Is the best way I can say it. Like, that's a dime, and that thing is brown as brown could be. There is no shine on that thing. And that's basically how they go. I mean, even with the quarter. The quarter is, I mean, it's got some shine, because, I mean, I played with it and tried to get it shiny again. But, I mean, if you hold it like that, that is dark brown. I mean, that is just no shine to it whatsoever. And that's a new quarter, because that's a, what is that? That is I'm trying to look at, that's a Blue Ridge Parkway quarter. So that just goes to show you, that just came out recently. And that booger is already another color. What does that say? 2015? Yep. So that's just something to look at when it comes to coins. They just change colors and they get all weird, and it's like I don't know why they do that. But if you find silver, silver looks the same as the day you dropped it, pretty much. They just glow like, ah. But anyway, there's a brief look at clad. This is what we call clad. This standard coins. All right. And another thing you might find, if you get lucky and it's in your area, are Civil War relics, like Civil War bullets. Buttons. This is a button from the Civil War, worn on a uniform. It's basically called a Zouave button. They usually don't look like that when you find them in the dirt. They're usually smushed and almost disintegrated. And that one, being the way it looks, is pretty much phenomenal. With it's still looking like it dropped. These, if I can get them in my hand, these are different Civil War bullets that you can find out in the field. Basically Confederate, which is this one, a drop Confederate bullet, which are, I think, in my opinion, harder to find around here, because you seem to find more Union 3-ringers than anything. And this little booger right here, you might decide to just chunk and not pick up or anything, but that happens to be part of a parrot shell, which is kind of like a cannonball, but it's really an artillery shell that exploded, and I don't know, maybe went through somebody. I don't know, who knows. But anyway, those are some of the things that you can look at and might expect to find. On these, there are opportunities where you can find whole ones, and they'll have fuses still in them and everything. Pretty neat finds. I have several friends that have found some that are still intact, look just like they did when they fell, kinda. They don't look new, but I mean, they're still in one piece. And that's kind of neat if you can end up finding one or several of those. And I guess that pretty much wraps up this little 3-tip deal that I've decided to do to help out some people that I either work with or friends, or even yourself if you're looking to get into the hobby. I hope this helps out a little bit and it's not very random. I will take a minute to show you real fast. I know you probably saw those in the background. That's a AT Max. I use that a lot. It's a very nice detector, high end for the Garrett line. And the other one next to it is the MindLab CTX 3030. That's almost like cheating when you use that one. But between the two, it's like night and day. The CTX is 1,000 times harder to use because the target ID is completely different than what the Garrett uses. Sorry about my finger. And the other detectors that use 99 digital segments for tone ID. The MindLab does not. It has a two-digit tone ideas. Like one's for the ferrous side and one's for the non-ferrous side. So it's a little different if you're only used to 0 to 99, and then you switch to a mind lab, and it doesn't work that way. It's got all kinds of stuff you got to take in consideration versus the other ones. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. And how about hitting that subscribe button for me? Before I go, I do want to take a moment to show you what I said briefly earlier about pinpointers. And
All right.
We'll be right back.
And before I forget, like I said before, I am going to do several videos coming up over the next, I said weeks, probably going to be months, because I'm going to try to do one a week. I'm going to use the Garrett pinpointer, which is the orange Garrett Z-Link pinpointer, and I'm basically going to be putting them up against different pinpointers that you can buy at lesser cost. I have a few here that I'm going to use, and I've actually used one in a previous video with the original black Garrett Pro pointer. So we're going to reintroduce that one in this test, and about 6 or 7 other ones other than the ones shown here today. All right, now these are the other pinpointers that I have right now on me. You can find them in different the catalogs, websites, you name it. They were purchased throughout the years. The original being the Fisher pinpointer that came with my F2. I thought it was pretty dang good until I came to grips and realized that, yeah, it was not. So we're going to be putting these other pinpointers to the test, plus about 6 or so more that are coming via Amazon, and they basically unboxed, everything shown inside, and we will put them through their paces against this being the baseline. All right, and with that being said, I hope you guys have a great night and a wonderful morning, and always enjoy your hunts and have a great day. Oh yeah, guys, before I forget, in Virginia, there's going to be a Civil War metal detecting seminar and hunt on August the 27th through the 30th, 2019. That is a really nice hunt. If you don't have any areas around your around where you live that have the ability to go looking for Civil War relics, it is like I said, based in Virginia. All payments will have to be done by August the 12th. But here is a brief little flyer that I printed out. I'm going to flip to it. You can pause it, read it, and get more information that way. If you have any other questions, I'll try to put a link down in the bottom for an email that you can email the people and get more information. But remember, your payments have to be in by the August the 12th, and it's only open for 25 people. So let's take a look at that flyer. All right, boys and girls, there you go. There's the flyer. Trying to keep it in frame. The cool thing that you get is you get a new Garrett AT Max. It comes with both coils, the standard coil and a small 5x8 coil. You'll get the Z-Link pinpointer, a hand tool, a pouch, and I also want to say a headphone, Z-Link headphones, but I'm not 100% sure. So if you will, just hit pause, take a moment to read. Oh, and there's the email right there at the bottom of the flyer. Have a great day.